We're talking about a divided Europe which is struggling to solve problems like immigration and economic stagnation. I'm asking my guests tonight if the EU is still relevant when it comes to the major challenges of the day. Well, my guests tonight are Ali Fatimi. He's a professor of finance at the American Graduate School of Economics here in Paris. Frédéric Vial is a member of the organisation Attack and the author of L'Horreur Européenne, the European Nightmare. We've loosely translated it as. Craig Cofitis is a senior writer for Bloomberg News. And our resident pro-European this evening is Mathilde Bouillet, who's from the left-leaning think tank Terra Nova. Many thanks indeed to all of you for being with us tonight. Mathilde, a lot of Europeans today might be thinking back to the old days where they could decide their own immigration borders, their own economic policy. They're looking back, perhaps with rose-tinted glasses, but they're thinking, surely we were doing a better job than this lot in Brussels. What would you say to them?
It would be very difficult because actually we have to look at the reality. We are in a globalized and multipolar world, and the EU now had just to strengthen its cooperation to build a very strong and competitive European pole, face China, the United States, and all the other emerging economies. So we don't have a lot of choice but to cooperate and to go further in the integration. Perhaps I can react to the other statements. I think there is a risk of vicious cycle in the debt crisis, but I think the solidarity again is more the solution. We have seen with the beginning of the Greek crisis that the difficulty to find a compromise have worsened the things, and now there is a European stability mechanism. It's a good option, but it's not sufficient enough. Actually, we have thought of restructuring the debt. We can also think of Eurobonds. We could help to mutualize the debt, because actually now with the euro, the Europeans have to find a common solution, because we can't just abandon Ireland, Portugal and Greece, because it would be absolutely terrible for the economic situation of the EU as a whole.
Can't we, Professor?
Yeah, can I comment on that?
Yes, please do.
You see, what you're forgetting is essentially the Europe started on the wrong foot. You can't have a common currency and a common monetary policy and 15 or 17 different fiscal policy.
Sure.
People go out, have their own budgets. They decide in Greece that the retirement age is 54, and if you're really hazardous jobs, like TV announcers, it's at 50. I mean, you can't do that. And in Germany, people working until 67. Either you have a country like the United States where there is a fiscal policy and monetary policy. Precisely. You can't have half of it. It's just like, having... That is where the problem is. And nobody wants to accept that. You see, everybody is very comfortable the way they are. Mr. Sarkozy is president here. Madame Merkel is chancellor over there. Nobody... I mean, they're laughing at the man who's supposed to be president of Europe. Can you say his name? I mean...
Herman van Rompuy.
That's it.
Very good.
But the Europeans have adopted the European semester exactly to coordinate fiscal policies. So,
but there is no fiscal policy.
No.
Well, there's no political union, is what you're saying.
But there never has been. This is a question. You know the old line: you can't just be a little bit pregnant. That's what's going on here, and it really fits. If you want to autopsy the dead, body that's Europe, is there still a chance you can pull it off? Well, you said the point before. Where's the leadership? There's pretty much personally, I think Sarkozy about as close as you can get to a leader as it comes, but we're still a far cry away. Mm-hmm. That if you autopsy this, what was the EU supposed to be? It was supposed to be an economic trading community, the old common market, where you could cross borders without having your passport stamped, and there wouldn't be duties, which made a lot of sense, right?
Hold on a minute there, Craig. What about look at the American economy? It's not really doing that much better, is it? There's a huge deficit, and Standard & Poor's talking about downgrading it.
That? Yeah. America might go down.
America's not doing much better than Europe, is it?
Yes, it's growing at 2.7%. right now.
It's not an isolated. This problem is not isolated to Europe. The difference being in America, as I mentioned before, is that you can't get past this. It's tribalism. Europe is not a melting pot. Full stop. Let's move on to the next subject. It never has been. It never will be. And I don't care the best intentions of people from the left or the right and the think tanks who try to forge this. It's not going to happen. It's not the European way. That's the American way. And that's why cities like Miami, Florida, have the largest French population outside of, I think, Paris now or something. Because people, when they get fed up in Europe and they want a new horizon, they don't emigrate to Greece or to Dublin or whatever. They go to a completely different place where there's a new culture that they can glom onto.
Well, there's a lot of immigration within Europe as well. I mean, when the EU opened its doors to East Europe, of course, there was a lot of internal immigration.
You're absolutely right.
The free movement of goods and people.
Yes, but that immigration, was done by people who were looking like the Poles going to England for better jobs. In the United States, it happens within the states. Yeah. But as the professor said, you actually have a monetary policy, a structure there that brings, no matter how screwed up it might get, there's a continuity of screwiness, if I could make up a new phrase, in the United States. It's screwy in Europe, but there's no continuity. And that's the problem.
Well, probably we could move to the next subject that you suggest, because the fact that there is no one people in Europe is the truth. And Europe is not United States. Well, as we say this, we do not finish the discussion. We have to move. And what can be done? We can be very agreed to say that we have to have a common fiscal policy. I think this is the key, and I would be really agree on this, because if we do not have a fiscal policy, we could not thinking about a real Europe with a real policy, globally speaking. Saying that, I must say that the European semester, which you speak about, is not is a proposal now to get out of the crisis. But our European semester is the way to stay in the crisis deeper and deeper. The solution now raising by the European Commission as it is and by the government as it is are false solutions and will increase the problem.
Are you ready to go down that road, though? Because you know what that means. What you just said, you're absolutely right. But if you go down that road, what you're talking about is France, for instance, giving up its sovereignty and becoming like the state of Nebraska in the United States of Europe, paying fealty to another organization that is a supra-federal organization that is dealing with each country like a state.
Of course
I don't think that's going to happen.
No,
do you?
Of course we do not have to say things like this, because I would not agree that France now is going to resign sovereignty on European Union as it is, because European Union is not democratic. We have to have a real democracy in European Union. And for instance, the Parliament in European Union has grown its competence, but it's not enough. We have to do more in this direction. And this is going to be difficult because for the moment we had the European Commission, we have governments which are totally ruling by the neoliberalism ideology, and they really do not want democracy. That is, I think, the very beginning.
But they were voted in by people. They weren't imposed by martial law.
Of course.
Majorities voted for them.
I think you are.
So you don't believe in democracy?
Yes, no, I don't say this. I say that I'm totally agree with you saying that the government are responsible and they are elected. This is true.
Sure.
But they need more powers. You're saying the European Parliament doesn't have enough powers?
Doesn't have enough power, and we have to have a real democracy in European Union. This is the first step in order to think about to enforce European Union, not to enforce it like this.
There's very little appetite for that at the moment in Europe. isn't there? But it's part of the problem that the people negotiating on behalf of each country, we talk about Nicolas Sarkozy, Angela Merkel, Silvio Berlusconi, Zapatero, they're all politicians who've been in for a while. They're quite tired. They're coming to the end of their term. They've got enough to do trying to keep their own voters happy, let alone coming up with fresh ideas to keep Europe going. Angela Merkel was a very energetic leader who really put some energy into the European project, didn't she? Is it time for some new leaders? You disagree?
Angela Merkel is focused on national
but when she first came to power, she really did drive Europe forward, didn't she? She was very much at the centre of decision-making.
Yeah, perhaps, but German positions are now very difficult to face because they are very reluctant to any deeper integration. It was very interesting to mention the need of a more democratic Europe. One of the key issues that the European Commission lack of democratic legitimacy, and one of the solution to resolve that is in the Lisbon Treaty, actually, because the Parliament can elect the President of the Commission. So if we have a Commission closer to the citizens, perhaps we can change this vision of an institution too technocratic and too far.
Do you think that will solve the problems?
It's a part of the solution.
The fact that who elects them?
It's a part of the solution.
Because most people, they don't even know who these politicians in Brussels are, do they? People in France vote for Sarkozy. He goes to Brussels to argue on behalf of France. Same in Britain, same in Germany. It's the same across the European Union. It's a debate where they all go and get what they can.
There was a very, very famous politician in the United States. He was the Speaker of the House of Representatives, the third most powerful man in the United States. If the President and the Vice President of the United States die, the Speaker of the House becomes President. His name was Tip O'Neill. He was a wonderful Irishman from Boston, Democrat, left-leaning, very colorful. Everyone loved him, no matter what side of the fence you were on. And he said what many American analysts believe is the most prescient line ever uttered about politics. Quote, all politics are local. And no one in France is going to give a fig about a German politician or someone in the European Parliament, because what they worry about is whether they're feeding their children, whether their garbage is being collected, and whether EDF, GDF keeps rates low. That's what they're concerned about.
And what can be said that European Union or the government respond to all this question? For the moment, the policies ruled by the European Union do not respond to anything.
Nothing.
I don't know if that's
on every subject.
Right. I don't know if that's entirely true, though, because I think a lot of people are concerned right now about what's going on in Libya. A lot of people are concerned about the environment, about climate change. People are worried about things that need big decisions to be taken, and you can only do that at an EU level if you're to make a difference.
Well, certainly there are things that have to be done on a multi-platform state level, whether it's the EU, whether it's the Organization of American States or whatever you. The question is, to reach those goals, to discuss those goals, do you need this goofy structure like the EU as it is now? And I would argue that you don't. As much as anyone might care about what's going on in the Maghreb right now, which is some very serious issues, this is not what local voters, what French voters have to deal with every night when they come home. They have to, I mean, I can tell you where I live here, they were saying that the coffee prices were going to be rising. There's a rise in prices. All the talk in the quartier where I was, how we have to get to Auchan really quick to stock up on coffee because the price was going to go up. There was more discussion on this than there was as what's going on in Misrata. And that's reality.
But that's where the statesmen come in, because they're the ones to translate for people that the problem of Africa, if it is not handled well, will become the problem.
Precisely.
Your problem. That is where a real statesman is needed. You know, people who can translate to people that if somebody says Gaddafi must go.
And probably a lot of people are more concerned by politics, even about what's happening in Africa, that you seems to think. I don't think that people are so stupid at only thinking about the price of the coffee, really. They still